Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webcast today. Today's webcast is part of the Deep Dive Enterprise Manager webcast series. Our topic is how to patch or upgrade your Oracle databases at scale with minimum downtime. To do that, I have Renee Fancha, Master Principal Solutions Architect, and myself, Tim Mooney, Product Marketing Director. This is part of a webcast series, so if you want to follow us along, you can see the URL below. And here's our agenda. We're going to dive right in with the details, the deep dive, automate fleet maintenance with Renee. Once he's done sharing, including going through demonstrations, I will take you through a customer profile. And third is the Q&A, maybe the most important part of this whole session. So we do have dedicated time at the end for Q&A, but I also want you to know we have set this up for you to get your questions answered, get your requests addressed. So we have people staffed on the Q&A tab on the bottom of your screen. Please use this throughout the entire session. All right, I think that's it for logistics. I would like to turn it over to you, Renee.
All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I know you guys are joining us from all over the globe, and we really appreciate you taking the time today to join the session. So, my name is Renee Fancha. I'm a solution architect with North America Oracle Security and System Management. Our topic today, just to kind of repeat here, is going to be how to patch or upgrade your Oracle database software at scale with minimal downtime. So the goal of this is that by the end, you will be armed with the tools to effectively, efficiently, and with minimal downtime patch or upgrade your Oracle estates, whether they're local in your data center or hybrid cloud and so forth. So that's the goal today. All right. So without further ado, so let's move on and get started here. All right. So first and foremost, we'll just take a second to read through this safe harbor statement. We're required to show you guys this, for the evident reason that we're going to be discussing about product features here, and it does not in any shape or form means, a commitment, from Oracle to deliver, any specific features if it's something that is coming to the future, in the future. So, I mean, just legal lingo there. All right. So the agenda today is going to be pretty much simple. We have those four elements that we're going to be going through. So we're going to talk about database lifecycle management. We're going to look at an overview. We also going to step into patching and upgrade motivators, the challenges. We're going to look at Enterprise Manager fleet maintenance, which is the main topic of this discussion, and followed by a demo, demo flow, and the demo itself. All right. So, what is Enterprise Manager? Enterprise Managers is an integrated enterprise information technology management product line which provides the industry only complete integrated business-driven enterprise cloud management solution. So Enterprise Manager creates a business value for IT by leveraging the built-in management capabilities of the Oracle stack for traditional cloud environment, enabling customers to achieve unprecedented efficiency gains while at the same time dramatically increasing service level. Some key capability of Enterprise Manager complete, a complete life cycle management solution enabling you to quickly set up, manage, support enterprise cloud as well as traditional IT environments, from application to disk. Maximum return on IT management investment through the best solution for intelligent management of the Oracle stack and engineer system with real-time integration of Oracle knowledge base with each customer. So it really gives you the best service level for traditional as well as cloud application through application-driven application management, right? And the way that Enterprise Manager does this is by using what we call management packs. So there are several, And for the subject of discussion today, we're going to really kind of narrow down to, database management pack solutions. And what are those? So when you look at enterprise management from a database standpoint, we have diagnostic and tuning, right? We have real application testing. We have database lifecycle management, which is going to be our discussion, topic of our discussion today. We have cloud management as well as data masking and subsetting. Right. So switching gear here to kind of, hone in on database lifecycle management. Let's discuss the key business drivers to database lifecycle management. So as we know, servers nowadays are more powerful and cheap, these days. It means, you can now have, hosts of numerous software deployment, whether it's in your data center or, in a cloud, right? And the cloud infrastructure really enable enterprise today to quickly spin up servers and infrastructure to host database deployment. This, in essence, really kind of throw a challenge. It brings new challenge to the range, that range from discovery to monitoring, management, and resources, right? Oracle Enterprise Manager offers a set of lifecycle management tools that helps to automate time-consuming tasks related to discoveries, such as provisioning, cloning, and patching. So these are the three main business drivers. So consolidation, right? It is essential that companies to keep track of all assets across the data center. This is essential. It's really critical, right? Enterprise Manager helps you to identify hosts and their software deployment by automatically scanning the network using IP scanning techniques like Nmap, right? The database consolidation workbench is also something that will allow you um, so basically, Enterprise Manager will offer that comprehensive, risk-free, end-to-end solution by eliminating guesswork and human errors based on historical workload. Enterprise Manager also provides a seamless way to move on-premise database workload to the cloud. So the guided migration, allow enterprise to plan, migrate, as well as analyze with ease. Right? So that's consolidation. Now, having the need for consolidation also call in the need for having some standards, right? So the software standardization advisor enable administrator to understand all the different software configuration in their environment. It also analyzes and provides recommendation to standardize and reduce the number of configuration required for managing the database estate. So Enterprise Manager, as you know, collects configuration information for all managed target across the enterprise, constantly. I mean, it's continuous, ingesting that data. And that helps drive configuration standardization and provide information about, configuration drift, following compliance rules, right? Now, if after, you cover consolidation standardization, what's the next element? And that really fit into that flow is automation at scales. So once you have uh, consolidation, you have standardization. To take it to the next level, on the Enterprise Manager, automate time-consuming tasks and eliminate error-prone operations like, provisioning, cloning, patching, and upgrade. That we'll see later on with fleet maintenance. So again, still with the overview here, Enterprise Manager offers a comprehensive solution that helps administrators to automate time-consuming tasks related to discovery and all that, and these tasks, in turn, having that automation in place allows, the DBA or operations to spend time of focusing on more um, pressing needs, things that require more attention than the mundane tasks. The mundane tasks, once they're automated and you have that free flow of data, and things are getting handled in a much efficient way, then they can spend more time now on more productive, activities, right? So when it comes to solution included with lifecycle management, just at the very high level here, we're talking about provisioning and patching, upgrade, cloning, automation, the multi-life cycle management, the configuration and compliance, as well as change management, drift, and all that. So let's dive a little bit into those key areas. Let's talk about database provisioning, cloning, and migration. Right? Provisioning. Provisioning involves a repeatable, reliable, automated, and also unattended, could be scheduled or ad hoc deployment of software, applications, or server across different platform, right? Environment, location, agnostic. As long as you have an agent, an Oracle EM agent, installed there, you can, have access to it and be able to use the provisioning and cloning features, right? So cloning, Enterprise Manager enables you to clone database, whether you're doing full clone, hot clone, thin clone, you have all those capabilities built in. So out of the box, you have a clone management dashboard that allows you to, easily uh, follow those operations and execute those operations and have a central point where all that data is available to you to review and track and so forth, right? And then when it comes to migration, it gives you a simple workflow, for instance, to allow you to migrate a non-CDB database to a PDB, right? Or to do a data pump or AMN uh, duplicate and for migration, or full transportable table space, all those different technology that you've come accustomed to as a DBA or operation managers. So all of those are available through the tool for you to use, whether through the UI or through the command line interface, or for some to REST API as well, right? So configuration and compliance. We're not going to The demo today is not going to focus on compliance and configuration, but just for your info, database lifecycle management also has a huge portion of it that caters to configuration compliance, right? Again, Oracle Enterprise Manager is constantly collecting a lot of data. It enables you to view, save, track, compare, search, customize, collect, all of that. So all that info is there. That rich data that it collects is there and can be used for things as comparison, drift, allows you to keep track of all those changes that are happening in the system, right? It also gives you that configuration topology, a topology viewer that gives you that graphical representation of how your system is now configured and how they interrelated they are, right? Um, the compliance portion or the compliance management portion of it provide a tool to evaluate um, the compliance business best practice in terms of configuration as well. And in addition, compliance management provides the capability to define, customize, and manage the entities used to evaluate compliance by using Oracle best practice or stick deployment or things like check for engineer system. Right. And now auto remediation. Once you have those in place, right, for things that we know, let's say we're tracking state change, we have a baseline and we know exactly that if anything were to change for a specific element, we know the solution. If we know the solution, or we can create a remediation for it as a corrective action so that whenever it occurs, before we actually notify, the auto remediation is applied to move it back to the state that we desire. So all of that is in place out of the box with Enterprise Manager, and you can further customize it to suit your organization's need. Right. Now, let's move on to the second item here, which is the patching and upgrade motivator. Why do we patch? Why do we upgrade? And what are the challenges when it comes to patching and upgrade? Right. So we know why we patch. For the most part, is for security boxes, security box, product and bug fixes, whether it is PSU, RUs, release update, patch set update, and so forth. And why do we upgrade? We upgrade primarily because we want to maintain our support. Anyone who is still running, I don't know, maybe 10G, I'm sure that there's some people out there, still running ton or 11.1 or even 11.2. Anyone who is still doing that, they know what it means, to be out of support, to not have that premier support. right? So we upgrade because we want to get that, keep that support. We also upgrade because we want to get take advantage of those bells and whistles, the new features, right? So we're paying, higher dollars for the price for the product, and we don't want to be left behind and not using, not taking advantage of those features. And again, the top reason why we upgrade or patch is because we don't want to end up in the news. We don't want to be that next company that's going to be on evening news, talking about some hacks or some security breaches that have happened because there was a security patch that was not applied, right? So we know the challenges with the typical patch management process. It is time consuming, it is complex, it is tedious. You have to make sure that you follow the steps as written, or you're gonna face a very, very long downtime if you make mistake along the way. And and actually, just the process itself require, you know, increased downtime. The more you spend time looking at it, the more you spend time executing, the more downtime you're gonna take to do it, right? So proper planning and effective planning from the beginning before actually starting executing is very important. It's critical, right? Like in anything. Now, the next element there, the next challenge there is the lack of standardization that make patching very unpredictable. So the same patch that you apply on system A works fine. You go to system B, because you don't have some standards that you follow in place, might not be successful. So what do you do? What do we have to? How do you handle all that? You know, uh, with the manual process being prone to human errors and not scalable, to the fact that even when you're using homegrown script, it's difficult to maintain, it's difficult to create standards, right? So how do you make sure that you stay on top of all this and be able to patch, with minimal downtime and all that, right? So that's where fleet maintenance comes into play, right? So basically, if we were to sum up um, various solution of patch Oracle software, database software patching solutions available out there, we know patch and scripting, the old-fashioned method. You get the patch, you download it, you maybe script it, and you run the patch manually and you apply it. We also know about Oracle conventional patching with Enterprise Manager 12c, or first introduced 12c, where you get a create patch plan and you download the patch, apply it, do analysis and all that. And then the novel idea, much efficient way of patching, fleet maintenance with Enterprise Manager 13c. So let's do an apple to apple or just a plain comparison of the three methods. We know that the first one is, numerous step, error prone, human execution there, you can make all kind of mistakes, right? The second one, patch recommendation from my Oracle support, you get that. You create patch plan for extensive configuration. You could have for one host or multiple hosts, right? But the analysis is still going to be, per individual host. The analysis is conducted, conflicts are identified, and request a merge label. It could take, if there's a conflict, right? It could take, a day, a week, few weeks, or even months in some cases, depending on the complexity of that merge request, right? And finally, you get that, and you go and execute it. There's still no guarantee that it's always going to work consistently, 100% of the time on all systems, right? Then you have fleet maintenance, which is the third method here that we're going to be discussing at length here. Patch reference environment. You upload as a goal image. You create basically a goal image. System subscribe to it, and you push the image massively to n amount of nodes, right? So let's look at the impact. The first one has a very low success rate and is error prone. One database at a time, one system at a time, longer maintenance windows, right? So this is actually an example from an actual customer, Oracle customer, where they had 10 clusters and they applied the three method and tried to compare and see what kind of skills or what kind of economies they could generate from this, and what kind of advantages were between the trees. And as you can see, the first one took 2 weeks, the second 4 days, and for fleet maintenance, that same operation took 4 hours. And why? Because of the standards that are put in place for fleet maintenance with goal image creation and, most importantly, out of place patching, right? Which reduce the downtime tremendously. So you're no longer doing in place patching, with fleet maintenance. All right, let's take a quick overview here and look at how this is actually done. So at the very highest level, fleet maintenance can be easily explained as a three-step process. We will talk about each step in more details. So the first thing is scan. To understand the database estate in its current form, break down the database by its distinct configuration. This is required in order to build a plan for maintaining the estate. So the outcome is to identify how many configurations are required to be maintained. Right. So after that, the next step is create new image and subscribe. So for each configuration, identify the earlier steps. We will create a sandbox environment, or what I will call a patch farm. So you can, give it any name, right? We apply the recommended patch, roll it up, and store in the software library as a goal image. All databases that need the same set of patches will then subscribe to this image. So any database that fit that specific profile will subscribe to that image. Right. Now the next step is to push and switch. So at the very high level, all database home that are subscribing will get a copy of the goal image. All database running from those home will stop and switch to the new image, thereby bringing all database to the same patch level. Right. Just a quick summary of the actual action that happened within each of these steps. Right. So again, illustration again, just for illustration, uh, it, the fleet maintenance will provide full support for all various configuration of database, Oracle database software that you can think of, right? And we're talking about whether you're running single instance, rack, with data guard or not, multiple uh, multi-tenant environment, engineer system such as Exadata, you know, um, cloud, whether it's Oracle Cloud or third-party cloud, an hybrid environment where you have assets both in cloud and on-premise. It doesn't matter as long as you have an agent, an Oracle EM agent installed in the system that can talk to your management server, OMS. You are you have the capabilities to be able to run the solution. Right. So in summary, you have patch and upgrade, which is automated. You can also put it on a schedule so that it's really go through a specific cycle, right? Um, the downtime is really minimized, right? And enterprise managers is doing this at scale. Centralized operation, you have a single pane of glass to really schedule, fix, retry, and view everything that is happening. All those operations is flexible and extensible, right? And you can also extend this into self-service maintenance if we extend this into cloud management pack. So that's going to be a discussion for another day. All right. So the very first step is detecting the configuration pollution. Right. As you know, Enterprise Manager captures configuration detail of all the database that it manages. For every database in the ecosystem, it knows the patch detail through LS inventory data store in the repository table. It may also be a good idea to actually refresh config in case any patching exercise took place before running this report. Right. So it prepares a distinct uh, configure. It basically will provide you with a configuration of your current state, and using built-in intelligence will provide recommendation for future state to minimize pollution. That's why we call it configuration pollution. Right. As you can see in this case, this is actually from an Oracle customers, where, as you can see, they have close to 2,700 database installation, out of which close to 300 were uniquely identified. So uniquely identified here, the unique identifier here is your platform, the release, and the patch level, right? So for instance, Linux, 18C, and the various patch level that you have within 18C, whether it's RU or one-off patches, right? Based on that, the recommendation here for the future state was to cut down from 295 to 8, which is tremendous, really huge, right? So think of this as, to use an analogy of maybe the airline industry, right? So think of your favorite airline. So here, statewide, here in the US, we could be talking American Airline or Delta Airline. If they had, let's say, 2,000 plane, and out of those 2,000 plane, let's say 1,500 or even 1,000 were uniquely configured. So just think of the nightmare it would be to maintain those airplanes, buying separate parts and training pilots for various configurations. So that would be really expensive, right? So that's why, you know, cutting that down from 1,000 to maybe a configuration of just 10 variation of airplanes or less, if possible, will actually lead to more economy of scales, more fluent operations, and less spending on training or superfluous spare parts, to cover all those various configurations. Right? So a little bit. I mean, when you think of that analogy, it kind of make it's easier to comprehend, what is happening here. So the next step here, after you go through the scan and identify the pollution and all that and get your future state, use that as a base to create your software image. The very first software image, in this case, just for illustration, let's say in January you have your very first one with 2 patches. You create your first version of the software image. Then later down in April, there's a new RU that comes out with 5 critical security patches that you need to apply. You create a second version, store in the software library, and so forth. July, you do the same thing, right? So now you're always gonna have, more than one version of a software image, right? Or one type, more than one type. And this is just for illustration as well. You can see that in this case, let's say you have what I would call a catch-all Linux 64, right? So for anyone who want to provision an Oracle database Linux, they're gonna get this image, right? You may also have some application that are running on Solaris, and for that application is still certified to on 12.2, has not yet moved to 18 or 19. So you got a dedicated image for that as well. And then you may have another application, let's say EBS, which is known to be really unique, kind of peculiar in terms of the type of patches that it requires. So you have a dedicated image for that, and it's still running on 12.1 in that case, right? And so once you do all that, you have your image, you push propagate, they sit and wait there in active home, as shadow Oracle home, as I'll call them. And only when the business is ready that you flip the switch and those homes are activated and become, active, and the database, start using those and implicitly patch or upgrade it, right? So when it comes to creating or updating images, right, that's actually going to be the subject of our demo today, where there's going to be 2 parts. The patching part, where we're going to be starting with an image of 1810, and later on, to simulate the upgrade, we're also going to create a new version of that image. We start with 19.3, and later on 19.7, and proceed with that to upgrade our database. All right. So with that, let's go through our the demo flow. So the demo flow here is going to be, again, we have 2 subjects here: patching and upgrade cycle. Right. So for patching, we're going to have create a goal image 1810. We're going to subscribe a database to it, deploy, then switch, which is implicit patching to 1810. We're going to simulate a rollback. So what happens if you apply the patch and the business is not happy and you have to roll back, right? So we also going to simulate a cleanup. So after everything is done and you have those empty Oracle home, how do you clean up? So how does the system do that for you, right? And then for upgrade, we're going to create a new version, goal image 19.7. We're going to deploy that software to target, then switch, which is an implicit upgrade from 18.10 to 19.7. All right. So let's look at a little bit more in detail as to how that flow goes. So we're starting our setup here with 3 databases: sales, HR, and finance, 18.3 to 18.8. We create in a sandbox patch farm environment. We create our 18.10 environment with all the patches that we need. Then our software library is already established. It has some other images in there. Let's assume it has something like Solaris, which is now at 18.3. And then we're going to add a new Linux image, which is 18.10, capturing from our source there that we just added. Then we're going to do a subscription. So all those 3 databases will subscribe to the image. Then we're going to have a push. So all those will also receive now a copy, now that they subscribe. So we do a software deployment onto those. Now, until that point, there was no downtime that was taken. So now we're going to take a downtime to switch those databases to 18.10, right? After that, let's say HR is not happy, we do a rollback. We simulate a rollback. And then after that, we're going to do a reapply and then do also go through a cleanup, right? Next, everything is cleaned up. Now the upgrade use case. Create a goal image, 19.7, push it to the software library. No subscription is needed because the subscription happened only once, right? Now, after the software has been pushed, we can just now flip the switch with the update. That's when we take the downtime, and the database is implicitly upgraded from 18.10 to 19.7. All right. Having said that, that covers the presentation portion here, and we're going to jump into our demo. All right, let's see here. All right, so we're going to start here by logging into Enterprise Manager. So you're going to log in as the super user sysman, and the password here. Okay, from the very first view here, we're looking at database software installations. We got 18C, 19C. Gonna look a little bit more in details. We see the various version there, 18.3, 18.8, 19.3, and so forth, right? Drill down a little bit more, look at the details, various version again, and the type, container versus non-container. Platform, we only have Linux. This is a small demo environment. So only Linux 18 and 19. All right. So the very first thing that we're gonna do here, after reviewing all these versions, just so you know what we have in this environment, we're gonna move on to the software standardization advisor. So we go to database, target database, look at the various database version that we have there. So you see these 2 beautiful pictures here representing the current and the future states, as we mentioned in the presentation. So we're going to generate a report that gives us more details on the future and as well as the current state. All right, so click yes. The report gets generated. We got 2 spreadsheets there. We're going to download that. So that's the future configuration. So let's take a look at the spreadsheet for the first one. All right, so as you can see, you have all the details for those 8 specific database installation. As you can see, we have 6 of 18 and 2 of 19 with the details as far as the patch level is concerned, which database is supporting, and if there's any standby database and so forth. All right, so we got 219 and 218 there. All right. So going back here, we're gonna look at the future state. So let's download that, the recommended configuration. We're gonna open it up. Let's open it up here and take a look. Just like we saw in the current state, now everything has been consolidated, right? So everything has been consolidated in just two recommended versions here, one for 18, another one for 19, with the consolidated patch offering. Um, and this is going to be the base for creating goal images, right? So that kind of sum up the software standardization advisor and how to control pollution at database level, how to control, database configuration pollution. All right, so the next exercise, we're gonna be patching our HR database, which is now on 18.3. So we're gonna patch that to 18.10 using fleet maintenance. And before we get there, based on the standardization advisor, the software standardization advisor earlier, we basically pre-created a source Oracle home that's going to be used for capture. So that's what we're searching here. You can either go directly to it on, get the name and search as we're doing here. All right. As you can see, we want to make sure that it does indeed it does have the 1810 release update as well as OJVM is a combo patch. So the home is ready for capture. It's ready to be captured as a goal image and so on. So for that, we're going to switch to the console, SSH, login here to the host. This is running on Oracle Cloud. So we're going to log into that host, the IP address, the public IP address there. All right, so log in as OPC. So let's clear that just so we have a better visibility, better visualization here. So we're going to clear that and we're going to sudo su as user Oracle to be able to access, the Oracle software. All right, so we're going to do that. Sudo Oracle, log in. So for this exercise, everything is staged in the fleet directory. So we're going to cd to the fleet directory just for ease of, execution. All the action, everything is basically encapsulated in those small shell script, but we can also type the full command. For instance, this is the one that we're going to be using to create the goal image. As you can see, DB software maintenance, create software, and then pass in the input. Let's take a quick look at what that input file actually has. All right, so let's do that. All right, let's remove the double quote there. Okay, let me cancel that and redo it without a double quote. All right. Let me see. All right. All right. So without a double quote, let's cat that file. As you can see, the content, you got the image name, the description, the reference target, which is the Oracle home that we just searched earlier, right? So we're gonna run the script. The image submission creation has been submitted, so we can go back to the console and review the execution. All right. All right. So we're gonna go here to enterprise. Provisioning and patching, no provisioning and patching down there. Then procedure activity. We can see that there's a job that's been submitted, it's running. We're gonna click on it. We're gonna filter, well, expand all first, then we're gonna filter on, step not skip just to take out all the clutter and just focus on the most important thing. As you can see here, it's running a Java CP, it's basically copying, what it's pretty much doing here is a clone operation. Like even if you were to run this manually, anybody who has ever cloned an Oracle home, so it's doing a clone operation locally, and it's gonna package that, zip it up, and upload to the software library. So it's still running, as you can see here. It's been running for about 5 minutes now, so it should be done here soon. It's right now the step here just finished, uploaded, 9 minutes, the software image has been created. Right. Just a little bit more details here on the various steps. Right. Okay. Now let's go back to the windows here, to the SSH sessions. So we can list all the images that have been created on this system, all the images that are stored in EM right now. You can see that the very first one on top is our image that we just created. Just by looking at the ID there, which should correspond to that image ID, and you can look at the date. So that's the image that we just created. We can also further, uh, kind of drill down to find out if there's any other version of this specific image that we created. As you can see, there's no other version. It was the very first one. So by default, it set the status as current, right? Um, it's the only image right now, the only version for that specific image. All right. So let's see if this, since we're going to be using it to apply to our HR database, we want to check the applicability. Is it applicable? Is this image applicable to our HR database? So how do we do that? So we have to basically call this command. And since it's going to be the long output, so we pipe it to a file, redirect it to a file, so to speak. And let's take a look. We open that file. From the very top there, it will tell us if it's applicable or not. And there it tells us that it's applicable. And also give us a list of 900 plus bugs that are fixed in there. So next step, we subscribe the database to that image, which is a one-time operation. So subscribing our HR database, as you can see, HR, subscription, submitted, done. After the subscription, the next step for us is going to be to go and deploy it. So we have to deploy that image. It's going to push it down from EM down to the local system where that database is running. So the operation has been submitted. As you can see here on console, it's running. We go through the same kind of routine, expand all, then step not skip to, take away all the clutter. So it goes through all the checks, make sure that there's available space, that the database has actually subscribed to that image. So it does all those validations, and if there's anything wrong, it's basically going to stop and issue a warning. So in our case, we prepare very well. Everything's running fine, it's executing, as you can see here. So we just have to hang out here and let it proceed. All right. So a little bit more details. 1 minute so far. Still going. As you can see, the source location is the software library, so it's getting pushed from the software library, and that's the destination home 2. It's in home 2, so that's going to be the final destination. Should be done here pretty soon. Right, so home 2, 7 minutes, 8 minutes. All right. Deploy. All right, another refresh, done. So done, after 9 minutes, everything is done. The software has been deployed. So if you go on the system now and do ls and check that specific directory, the file should be in there. So it is done. The next step here, as I mentioned, just verify it's there, it's been deployed. So what do we do next? This is single instance. This is single instance. Before we actually patch the home there, we need to migrate the listener, move the listener out of the old home to the new home, right? And very quick operation here. So let's verify first that the listener is running. So listener 1522 is running out of the old home, user one app 1806 HR. So now we're going to issue the operation to migrate the listener. It is migrated. Well, I mean, it's submitted. We can go back to the console and check the progress. So refresh. It's there running. All right. Same routine. Step not skip. Expand all. All right. All right. So as you can see, it's a very fast operation, very quick. So it's already been moved to the new home. It's now running out of 1522. So it took a minute 25, to complete the operation, shut down and start a new location after doing all the blackout and everything that has to be done there. So now the critical steps, which is where the downtime. So everything that has been done so far has been done pretty much without taking downtime. So now we take the downtime from the business and say, okay, it's time to patch that database from 18.8 to from 18.3 to 18.10. So we submitted that. As you can see, the operation here, the purpose is update database. That's the key element there, or the key switch there that will basically instruct you to patch the database. All right, so it's running. Same routine. Step not skip, expand all, and we're just gonna sit tight a little bit and let it go. So as you can see, it's basically black out database and all the listeners to make sure that you don't get all those unnecessary notifications. And it shut down the database from the source, the old home, and it's gonna start it up in the new home in the mode that is required to apply the data patch. All right. So just verify that it's shutting down. As you can see, close, dismounted, and it's 18.3. So from the old local home. And now start is starting from the destination or the new home. And if you drill down there, that's what we're gonna do here. You're gonna see that is started from the new home, which is 1810. As you can see, SQL plus 1810. Database started open, and it is open in the appropriate mode to apply the patch. So, and then you can see the data patch is getting applied, applies PSU and patches. So those are running, and we have to sit tight a little bit here and just let it complete. You can see here OJVM, patch as part of the patches that need to be applied there. Right. So after 7 minutes, everything's done. Our database has been patched. Um, So it went from 18.3 to 18.10. Right. So if we go to targets and check the database, we see that it is now 18.10. It's not 18.3 anymore. Right, including all the PDBs. I mean, there's only one PDB in there. So that's been pushed to 18.10. All right. So with that, let's assume that the business is not happy and something is not right and we need to roll this back. So we're going to roll back to 18.3 again. This time we're going to use a different method. We're going to use a REST API. So we run this curl command with post and submit it. If we go back here, very soon it's going to put in blackout mode again, and procedure activity is running, rollback is happening. So again, same routine, step not skip, expand all. And this should, it's actually going to take a little bit less time, you know. So it's in blackout mode, 1810 days. We're going back to 18.3. It's going to take a little bit less time to roll back than patch. So let's see, after 6 minutes here into it, the rollback is completed there. Look, let's see, it's updating properties right now. So those are all the patches that got rollback, right? So all 18, so 18.1, 18.2, it rollbacks everything to the base, then reapply up to the old patch level, which was 18.3, right? So it rollbacks and it applies and should be done now. UTREP to compile all invalid has been executed and everything's done. 6 minutes, 59 seconds, right? Just shy of 7 minutes. So that is done, completed. All right. So the next step, we're going to simulate a cleanup. How do you, actually, we're not simulating. We're actually going to clean up the old Oracle home. But since we roll back this HR database and to keep the same flow, we're going to reapply the patch there just so we have the free home to remove. So we're going to do a quick operation here just to reapply the patch. So let's submit it. All right. So completed. So we have our home now available. We have our old home back empty and ready for cleanup. So before we do it, we want to get a report, right? So look at this. In this case, we're just getting a report and it's telling us that that home is available to be removed, right? We know the home is there. That's the old home. It's no longer being used. The listener is not using it. The database is not using it. So we can clean it up. So we submit this same command now without a report only, and it should basically kick off the cleanup. As you can see, it is cleaning up now. It's running. Should be a fast operation. So this is under 2 minutes. All right. So minute 16 second, the home is gone. So let's go verify it and make sure that it is indeed gone. If you go here and just do ls on that, as you can see, it's gone. It's no longer here. So that pretty much is kind of complete our exercise here. So as you can see, we use split maintenance to patch our database here from 18.3 to 18.10. The database is running on 18.10, including the listener. Listener is running on 18.10, as you can see here. Right. So if we go back to the console here, we can review, a summary of everything that we've done here. And also, most importantly, we can go back to the very first exercise that we did earlier, right? Go to Software Configuration Advisor. So let's check the summary first. So this is a summary of everything that we have, database, and we're gonna go to standard Software Standardization Advisor. See, the picture is a little bit different now. So we're gonna just, for a clean operation, we're gonna regenerate, run it again, and as you can see, everything's good. So to summarize, we went from a 6 unique configuration now back to 5, as you can see, after patching our HR database from 18.3 to 18.10. Thank you once again. This completes our exercise, and we appreciate you spending all this time with us. Thank you.
All right, Renee, that was fantastic. Thank you very much for your presentation, and especially your demonstration. It's really helpful to see the actual product in action. So here is my case study. It's Comcast, a global media company. They develop a lot of content, and they were struggling with their provision times, literally taking upwards of 2 and 3 months. What they did is took advantage of Enterprise Manager, created a far fewer number of gold image databases. Then they started using automation for provisioning, automation for patching. And they actually found that they could meet their compliance standards as well by leveraging standardization of their gold images. The net result, they took their provisioning time down to minutes. They were patching, staying current with their patch levels on over 2,000 databases. And at the same time, they reduced their database maintenance downtime. So really impressive story. They're very proud, and we're very proud of them as well. Okay, I also get a lot of questions about the business benefits. Obviously, there's a lot of work involved to take advantage of all these processes, and companies want to understand the business benefits of taking that avenue. Peak Solutions worked with many of our customers to quantify those business benefits and put it in this really well-written report. It's available on blogs.oracle.com/OEM, so take a look at that. It's a great resource. And it is now time for your Q&A. So please use that Q&A window down at the bottom of your screen. We're going to continue answering your questions. We have experts online helping out. And at the same time, I want to make an announcement. I'm going to be publishing a whole new series of webcasts. And now we're going to have a series of workshops available on these topics as well. So stay tuned there. Probably by the end of the week, I'll have those posted. Lastly, on the bottom, I've got blogs.oracle.com/OEM. You'll find a bunch of technical and business blog posts there about the latest and greatest with Enterprise Manager. So I see we're getting a number of questions in. Renee, hopefully you can help me with some of those. Let's get started.